Thank you. I'm excited to welcome everyone to our Sci-Fest alumni panel discussion today as part of the Sci-Fest National Final. My name is Megan McDermott. I am a HR Communications grad here at Boston Scientific Galway. I will be your panel host today, and I suppose where I work, we strive to make an impact in everything we do, and I suppose believe that Sci-Fest shares that common goal and the impact it's made on students across Ireland over the last 15 years. So today I'm looking forward to talking to our panelists, asking a few questions about how Sci-Fest has made an impact on them personally and professionally. So without further ado, let me introduce our Sci-Fest alumni panel. First up, we have Conor Casey. Conor is a first-year maths student at TCD. He won the Maths and Science Award at Sci-Fest at MTU Tralee in 2019. And then he won the Sci-Fest SFI Best Project Award and was a Sci-Fest National Final runner-up in 2020. Representing Ireland and Sci-Fest at the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair in 2021, Conor won second place in the Earth and Environmental Sciences category. And again, representing Ireland and Sci-Fest in the Hong Kong Global Youth Science and Technology Bowl in 2021, he won second place in the Physics and Engineering category. We also have Ellen Fitzgerald. Ellen is a graduate project engineer at PM Group, having graduated from MTU in 2021 with a bachelor's degree in environmental science and sustainable energy. Ellen won the SEAI Environmental Award at Sci-Fest CIT in 2014 and in the Sci-Fest National Final in the same year. Representing Ireland and Sci-Fest, she won a first place award at the International Environment and Sustainability Project Olympiad in 2014. And it seems like 2014 was definitely a busy year for Ellen. Next up then we have Owen Hayes, a fellow Boston Scientific employee. Owen is an R&D electrical engineer at Boston Scientific Clonmel, and he has a Bachelor of Engineering in Electronic and Computer Engineering from UL. He won the Best Project at Sci-Fest in LIT in 2014, and he was also a runner-up in the Best Project category at the Sci-Fest National Finals in 2015. And lastly, we have Anna Fidler. Anna is a flight operations analyst at Ryanair, and she has an honours bachelor degree from DCU in aviation management with pilot studies and a postgrad diploma in data analytics strategy from the Chartered Accountants Ireland. Not to mention she has a private pilot's license too, and I suppose to allow for the better global mobility, Anna speaks English, Swedish and Thai. So she was awarded News Talk's Best Communicator and first place in Senior Life Sciences category at Sci-Fest at IT Tralee in 2010. So Anna, we might actually start with you with the questions, I suppose, just to kind of get it started. But can you kind of remind us of your Sci-Fest project and the impact that it's had either on yourself or on others?
Yeah, sure. So my project involves an investigation into dry eye syndrome and the stress caused on eyes due to the use of computers and other technological devices that emit blue light. It was a pretty new topic, pretty advanced topic at the time, since smartphones and tablets weren't yet as popular as they are today. The impact on me at the time and still to this day, I guess, was pretty huge. Building a project from the ground up and watching it flourish is probably one of the coolest experiences a young student could have. And participating in Sci-Fest gave me the courage to kind of put my ideas out there to the public and actively engage with those around me, especially those with similar scientific interests. And the whole event reaffirmed my passion for science. Public speaking is quite a difficult thing to do, and I wouldn't do it for just any subject. So participating in Sci-Fest, particularly in a Sci-Fest final, is a memorable experience, to say the least.
That's great, thank you. Conor, and yourself, can you remind us what your project was about and the impact it might have had?
So my project was about weather prediction. So I sort of started my project around the time that Fridays for Future became prominent, and I was really inspired to sort of learn more about climate change and sort of climate prediction. Especially, I know it's great to talk about climate change, but I think it's great when you sort of have a broader understanding of the topic in general. So I suppose as I sort of started learning more about how climate change research was done and how we sort of predict what's going to happen in the future, I suppose it sort of narrowed down into being more particularly about weather. Now, traditionally, weather forecast models are sort of done using physical maths equations and physical models of the atmosphere. And this is sort of great, and sort of we've seen a great improvement over the last 20 years of sort of the improvement in skills and weather forecasts. But the problem with weather prediction currently with these models is that they're very computationally intensive. So you require a lot of computational power to sort of make these predictions. So it's very difficult, especially if you are in a developing country, to sort of provide accurate weather predictions sort of to the local population, because you just don't have the financial resources to be investing in the necessary computational power to sort of provide better predictions for your models. So what I did was I sort of set out to improve this. So I ended up employing machine learning. So machine learning is quite good in the sense that once your model is trained, it's very quick to sort of do predictions once you have your model trained. And so what I found with my project was that I was able to provide sort of a similar level of accuracy in the weather forecast while doing it with much less computational power. And I think this would have an impact in the sense that you'd be able to run it on, on your laptop at home if you had access to the necessary data. So I think it has a great impact on me. I think it has allowed me to sort of realize what I've been interested in, and it's sort of provided me with numerous skills that I don't think I would have if I didn't do the project or sort of didn't participate in Sci-Fest.
Wow, yeah, that sounds like it would definitely have a global impact, and never mind the impact it has had on your own skill set and experiences. So fair play to you. It sounds like a brilliant project. I might move on to Ellen. Ellen, can you remind us of your project and the impact you feel it might have had?
Yeah, definitely. So I did mine on a non-integrated LED light bulb, which sounds really fancy, but initially my team and I were thinking, okay, how do we create a project that's eye-catching? How do we make a difference in our world in a small way? I suppose we looked at home and we said, okay, if we can change our lamps and our everyday lights at home and just make them more energy efficient by changing a bulb, what do people do in the wider community? So we just designed a bulb that could be literally screwed into existing street lights, because currently what they were doing was they were changing the whole light fixture, which was costing like thousands per light. And if you think of even your own home or town or city, like there's thousands in them. So we said, okay, this is going to make a huge impact and hopefully turn a few heads at Sci-Fest and stuff, which it did, and we were delighted with. But yeah, so I suppose it just, Sci-Fest enabled us to take a small little idea and run with it, and made us connect with like all these adults that we were like, oh my god, they won't have time for us, but they did, and they love chatting with students who just have an interest, and that's what we did, and we ran with it. So yeah, it was great fun. It just grew my communication skills so much. I was a very nervous little student, and then when you're talking to people and they have the same interest as you, it grows and it runs with you, and it's just a great project to be involved in.
That's brilliant. I love how your initial motivation was actually making that real world change, and then I suppose the being able to present it to people and being able to run with it was definitely the bonus. But that's great. That's great to hear the impact it's had on your communication skills and probably your confidence as well. And I suppose when you're that age, it is such a milestone in your confidence level. So brilliant, fair play to you. Owen, just can you remind us, I suppose, of your project as well and its impact? And I suppose maybe if you want to touch on, I'm probably bringing it back to the Boston lingo, but our term, our kind of big thing in Boston is advancing science for life. What impact did your project have, and would you be able to kind of connect it with that, with the Boston mission?
Yeah, so my project was based on Irish Sign Language. So the title of the project was A Handy Guide to Sign Language, and the whole aim of it was that myself and my partner Adam is that we developed a learning tool to try and teach people Irish Sign Language. So the whole premise of the project was that you'd put on a glove. The glove was fitted with sensors and kind of microcontrollers and things, and then it would feed all that back into a computer, and it would tell you if you're doing the sign the right way or the wrong way. And then an educational video would then kind of try and promote you to do it the right way and show you kind of demonstrations on how to do it. So kind of the impact it had really was, for me personally, it kind of focused me down a line that I kind of wanted to go down in terms of my professional career. So like I work as an electronic engineer, so I kind of cemented the pathway I wanted to take, and especially down medical devices, and hence I ended up working for Boston Scientific, where I do a lot of that type of development, prototyping, and trying to develop new technologies, new medical devices that'll eventually help people in their day-to-day life.
Brilliant. That sounds like a great application to have, and it's actually funny. I was just involved in an Irish Sign Language project there with one of our employee resource groups a few weeks back in Galway, and that would have been a brilliant application to have for sure. Thank you. I might keep with you, Owen, on the next question. So, and it's kind of around collaboration and maybe the influence that you would have had growing up when it came to STEM. How did you first become interested in STEM? Was there any role models, teachers, parents, anyone that might have influenced you in that sense?
Yeah, so kind of my initial involvement in kind of STEM was kind of joining the science club in first year of secondary school. A group of friends were like, oh, sure, we'll give it a go, see what it's like. And 10, 12 years later, I'm still doing it. So that was kind of where the initial premise went. Started doing Sci-Fest competitions. Kind of it drove an interest in different topics that I was kind of interested at the time, either biology, chemistry, and then kind of more towards technology and towards the later years. But in terms of people that had like an influence and a major impact on me was definitely my science teacher. They definitely gave us opportunities and opened us up to different resources by either working with the local universities or working with industry professionals, which kind of definitely focused what our projects were about, and definitely opened up kind of developed all our skills in terms of communication, problem solving, and things like that.
Brilliant. It's good to see the influence that your teacher had on you. Look at where you are today. It's great. Anna, I'll come back to you then on that as well, in terms of the influence that you might have had growing up, be it, in primary or secondary school, when it came to STEM. Did you have any role models, or how did you first become interested in STEM?
Yeah, definitely. My dad, who is a software engineer, was definitely the scientific role model in my life. He has a deep interest in fields such as astronomy, chemistry, physics, and always encouraged me to explore my own scientific interests. And then in terms of keeping on the interest, I think it's hard to ever get bored with science. The subject is so diverse and the learning possibilities are endless. So that's what excited me at the time, and still what excites me to this very day.
That's brilliant. That's very nice. It's good to have a parent's influence as well on that, because it's something to bond over as well, I guess, when you're growing up and talking about astronomy with them. It must have been nice. Some good memories there, I'm sure. Conor, do you want to tell us a bit about how you first became interested in STEM as well, and talk a bit about any influential role models you might have had as well?
Yeah, so I suppose going into secondary school, I didn't really know what science was. So my first interaction with science was sort of learning off loads of facts about the heart for a sort of a biology test. And while I was getting good grades at the time, I wasn't particularly interested in it. It was just sort of another school subject. But someone who definitely had a major impact and sort of got me into science was my chemistry teacher. And sort of she inspired me and showed me, it's not all just about learning facts, but it's about, it has real world applications and you can use it to help people, and it can be also fun and it's not just boring. So I think my science teacher definitely had a major impact on me and sort of pushed me into competitions like Sci-Fest, and was really supportive, even things, when things got really challenging. And even, while my parents wouldn't necessarily be from a technical background, I think it was great that they sort of allowed me to, pursue what I was interested in, even though if sometimes they didn't have a clue what I was doing. Some days I'd be stuck up in my room and I might come out 2 days later and they go, they don't see anything built because I sort of do a lot of programming. So, oh, But yeah, no, like they were really, really supportive and really great parents. So I think those were two definitely major reasons why I kind of ended up in STEM.
That's great. I love that, how they didn't have the background, but they tried their best to understand, I guess it sounds like, and they had your back through it, which is really nice to hear. And it seems like, you know, the secondary school teachers are definitely having an influence across the board. There's a bit of a trend there. But even for myself, I can understand you go into secondary school thinking, oh, just learn these off so we can get the best grade possible in the test. But it's not until you actually see the impact that this information has on the outside world, outside of the walls of your school, that it really hits home the importance of it. So yeah, that's really good to know. Ellen, for yourself then, you know, when did you first become interested in STEM, and what kind of role models might you have had to kind of kickstart that interest?
Yeah, so for me, it all kicked off in secondary school as well, really. Like major push from the science teacher to get involved in things, and the same as Conor, like as soon as it's not, oh, you have to learn that off for the test on Friday, I was just massively interested in, all right, so I have a role in what I learn and how I can do my own project on, which was just so cool. It was the first time in secondary school that I was like, okay, we can take our own lead in this, and you know, it's something that we're really interested in that we could have a go at. I suppose like my two parents would be from a technical background, but that was even a laugh to come down and be like, what do you think about that, and kind of pick someone else's brain about it. But yeah, no, it was great. Yeah, I would give a big thumbs up to my science teacher back in school though. She was A1. And just so supportive, like, and just, you know, never said no, but would kind of help you out and be like, you know, what about that? And, you know, just broadening your mind and looking outside the box for 2 minutes.
Great. I think we need to start giving all the teachers a bit of a shout out. They'll be delighted. That's brilliant, Ellen. Thank you. Owen, I might round back to yourself. The next question is around kind of making an impact. And at the moment, I suppose in work myself, I'm quite involved in a project that we're doing, and it's an annual thing. It's everybody makes an impact. Again, a kind of a Boston run initiative, but I think it's just really important to bring it back to Sci-Fest in terms of the impact that Sci-Fest has had on us. And I suppose that's the theme for this panel discussion. So could you tell us a bit about you know, how you think the Sci-Fest experience has impacted where you are today, maybe, Owen?
Yeah, definitely. So definitely doing Sci-Fest impacted what what career path I ended up going down. We'll say if I think back to when I was in first and second year of secondary school, I was doing very much biology and chemistry based projects. And then kind of as I went into the senior cycle, I was more looking towards technology. So I was always good at computers, always good at programming, and kind of liked electronics, but definitely doing those projects in Sci-Fest kind of give me a more like focused view on it. So that definitely helped towards kind of what I did in college, what interests I had, going down the biomedical route, for example, like what I did, and hence ended up where I am today, you know, working for Boston Scientific and working on cutting edge new medical devices. So that was really it.
Brilliant, thank you. Anna, you know, coming back to the same question then on the impact that Sci-Fest has had on you, do you want to delve a bit into how you think the experience has impacted where you are today?
Yeah, 100%. As I mentioned earlier, building a project from the ground up and then having people come over and be interested in it is a really fun experience. And participating in Sci-Fest definitely gave me the courage to put my ideas out there more and speak to people with similar interests as me, built up my public speaking skills. And yeah, just overall, it was a positive experience on my confidence, on my peers' confidence, for sure.
Yeah, it must have. I mean, if you're awarded the News Talks Best Communicator award, it definitely would have had contributed to that award. So that's great to know. Conor, then, you know, just back to the same question, do you think the Sci-Fest experience has impacted where you are today?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like, even, you know, when Sci-Fest was in person, like, it was great to sort of meet everyone and meet sort of all of your peers. And you sort of, you know, the first year I sort of did it, you know, just to see what it was like. But even, you know, going around talking to people, you go, oh yeah, I could put that in my project, or I could push myself a bit further. I could do this, or I could do that, and it really sort of pushes you to be it stretches you. It pushes you out of your comfort zone. I think that's really great. And then it's also just making sort of friends along the way as well. There's some people who did SciFest that I would be great friends with, and sort of even in college, and sort of when you're meeting people in college, I know I find myself anyway that it can be a bit nerve-wracking at times. But even if you have something like SciFest and sort of go, oh yeah, I did that, it's sort of a good way to sort of meet people and sort of get to know other people who might have the same interests as you. So it definitely had a massive impact on my life anyway.
Brilliant. That's great. I think when you're in secondary school at that age, you do need something that'll push you out of your comfort zone. And, it feels like a lot at the time, but it's just something to kind of kickstart that growth journey almost then into college. And it's great to hear the networking opportunities and friendship opportunities that it's provided you as well a few years after, or a year or so after that you did it. Ellen, then on your end, how do you feel the Sci-Fest experience has impacted where you are today?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with the other people really. Like from the get-go, I suppose we did Sci-Fest in my 4th year, so in my transition year of school. And from then on, it was just like, okay, how do we get into this full time? And after the leaving cert, then I was like, okay, because our project was based, as I said, on LED bulbs. So, that whole energy, like environmental side of things, which I just thought was so interesting, and it was always changing, and it was so current right now. So I went on to do environmental science in CIT, which is now MTU. But CIT was where also we won the regional award. So it was gas to go back as like a real full-time student now. So it was just funny, like, and they actually helped us like printing our poster and like with research, and we carried out some of our lab exams in CIT for the Sci-Fest project. So it was gas like to go back as like now it's a student. And then going on again, like I'm working with a construction group now, and we're designing buildings to be more energy efficient, and to have where would we put the solar panels on it, and how is that going to maximize their output. And it's just gas to see like how one little step could just lead you to your life now. And I suppose my full-time job, like, it's gas to say, but it does, like, it, and it works out, and everything happens for a reason, like, and it's just funny. And like when we were doing the Sci-Fest competition as well, like, it's not just doing the competition, like I really want to emphasize that it's just a stepping stone to so much more, and traveling and meeting new people. It's just great.
That's brilliant. I love how you mentioned a few times that it was gas to go back to the same place that you won the award in college and stuff. And it kind of leads me on to the next question, and I'll keep with yourself for this one, Ellen, because I think that you've definitely touched on it already. But like, what is it that you enjoy most about being involved in the STEM related field? The way you spoke there, I just got such a sense of enjoyment out like from you without you even having to say it. But if you could put your finger on one thing, what would it be?
I think it has to be the teamwork. Like, I love being able to ask someone, how did you do that? Or why did you even think about it that way? And just, I feel like you learn so much from someone who might even have a few years experience on you. And I think that's what I love. And like, even about Sci-Fest, it's just like that sharing of knowledge and thinking about something differently, which you might have never looked at before. And that's what I love. Like, I know my Sci-Fest project was in a group, but I love that, like, because you can just see, you looked at it that way, okay, great, let's run with that. And it's the same with work now, and there's just so many different people from different areas of life, and I just think it's so fascinating.
Brilliant. It really is. That's something I would I'd label that as diversity of thought.
Definitely.
Yeah, when you're around people from all walks of life, and that's where you'll get the best ideas, best innovation, I suppose. So that's great. Conor, then I'll move on to yourself, just in terms of what do you enjoy about being involved in the STEM field?
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with I think what was said. Like, it's great sort of meeting, like when you're working on your project, sort of you reach out to people and you ask them, oh, what if I did this or what I did that, and sort of hearing back and sort of learning that way. I think it's really great. But another thing I sort of really enjoyed when I was doing my Sci-Fest project was like the challenge. It was that sort of pushing yourself. So, I know, you know, in school, you go in, you sit down, you're fed some information for the day. But I thought it was really great that, you know, sort of when I went home, I could go, oh, I might, you know, look into this part of maths, or I might look into that part of maths, and sort of made it my own sort of personal learning journey. I think it was really great, and sort of really finding out, learning new stuff, and sort of applying it to make a difference, I suppose, if I was to put a word on it.
That's great. You definitely seem like such a go-getter when it comes to learning. You know, not just taking in information but applying it. So you seem to have a really good, strong growth mindset. But I love how the answers so far have been, you know, around the people as well. And I think sometimes when people think of STEM, they think of maths, and they think of, you know, engineering, numbers, physics. But at the end of the day, like, we need to be able to collaborate, and that probably brings me back to my previous question, and the influence that people have on each other in STEM. And so that's great. Thank you, Conor. Anna, then, you know, and keeping on the theme of the fun side of STEM, what would you say that you enjoy most about being in a STEM related field?
I think human beings just have this innate desire to explore, and working in a STEM field allows you to do that every day of your life, basically. No 2 days are the same, especially in a busy airline like Ryanair. And the opportunities to use science and scientific methods of research to make real world decisions and real world impact are plentiful.
That's great. Yeah, I think the real world impact, being able to see what your work actually does, you know, off of a piece of paper. So seeing how it influences people, impact it makes worldwide is definitely something to take enjoyment from, which is great. And Owen, then, I suppose, just for yourself, what is it that you enjoy about being involved in a STEM related field or role?
Yeah, so kind of the main thing I got from STEM related fields and what I really enjoy is kind of the problem solving. So like even in my day-to-day role, the best way I describe it to a person is since I'm an R&D or research and development engineer, I design things, I build them, I break them, then I fix them again. So that was probably the best way that Sci-Fest kind of influenced the way I do things at work, because you have that similar thing, something breaks on your project, oh, how do I fix it? And it's the same methodology and the same kind of fun problem solving that I bring to work. So it's probably one of the main things I enjoy about being in a STEM related field. And then every problem is different, so it's a different thing every day as well.
That's great. I'd say you have great life skills that can be transferred from, you know, work skills that can be transferred back into your life skills, because I suppose you're always problem solving outside of work as well. So no, that's great to know. And I suppose I might keep with you on for the next question around diversity. And, you know, I suppose the question really is, how do you think Sci-Fest impacts the diversity in STEM careers, or even, you know, university courses?
Yeah, so like in terms of like the diversity, we'll say within my own group and who I work with, we'll say everyone is from a range of different backgrounds. We have different kind of ideas and ways of thinking. So they be firmware engineers, software engineers, hard or mechanical engineers, quality engineers. So we all have a different way of thinking. And it's a very diverse field of what we all kind of did in previous jobs or what we did in college. Some people I work with would have done an engineering degree, they would have done a science degree, or they'd have originally come from a completely different background, but they have a very different viewpoint on different issues that we have. So that type of kind of original thinking, I think is really important, and kind of improves the diversity that you have in a workplace, and particularly Sci-Fest definitely prepares you for that, because you'll be working with different people all the time throughout your projects or in school, from different backgrounds, and kind of gets the thinking caps on, gets things done.
Brilliant, thanks, Owen. Anna, we'll probably come back to our point of, you know, diverse thinking, and I'll ask you the same question in terms of, how do you think Sci-Fest has impacted the diversity within STEM careers or even STEM industry?
Yeah, so Sci-Fest is a great platform for students from all over to display their passion for science. I went to school in a rural area, in County Kerry, and I felt really welcome at all of the Sci-Fest events, and never felt out of place. So it's just a great event where people of similar interests can get together from all over the country and all over the world.
Thanks, Anna. Conor, then, I suppose, what are your thoughts on Sci-Fest and the impact that it has on the diversity within the STEM industry?
Yeah, I think Sci-Fest is a really special competition. It's so accessible, I suppose. The fact that it runs, in your school, sort of at a regional level, at a national level, and then there's the international level. It sort of provides a very accessible entry point, to see, sort of just see what it's like, to see, whether you might like it. Other competitions, for example, might, there's a selection process, and you might not in the end be able to do your project, you might not present. But the fact that it runs at so many different levels, and the fact that you're given that opportunity, I think allows even more people to sort of participate in Sci-Fest and get involved. And the fact that it's free as well, especially if you come maybe from a disadvantaged background, the fact that it's free and so accessible, I think is really great. I think you get a lot more people into STEM as a result of that. And it's just so many, it's a melting pot of ideas, really.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I actually took part in the 2012 GMIT Sci-Fest competition, and it's funny because I would never have thought of myself as a STEM oriented person, but now I'm working in medical devices. I may not be an engineer, but I'm working with their STEM group, and I'm really heavily involved, hence why I'm here today. But it is, if it weren't for Sci-Fest, I probably wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to be talking to everyone today and talking to Sheila. So it definitely does, it is a gateway, for people to access STEM and figure out their interest in it. So yeah, that's brilliant. And Ellen, then I suppose we spoke of diversity earlier. How do you feel as though Sci-Fest has impacted diversity in STEM, in the STEM industry or careers?
I think Sci-Fest just opens you up to STEM is not just being about good at maths or being good about biology, but it's you looking at a problem and trying to solve it and how you go about that. And then when you go into industry, you find that what makes a team work or what makes a job successful is that there's people who are good at a range of different things, not just one thing, and no one's the exact same. And that's what's great about when you stand up in Sci-Fest, or if you're on, your virtual presenting, that, if you look at the project next to you, or if you read about somebody else's project, it's completely different to your own, but they're still solving such a great idea, and they've still looked at something their own way. And that in industry, that's what makes a company, and that's what makes a successful job, is that you get to work with people who don't think like you, who think like them, but they get on well with someone that like you, and you look at a problem completely different. So when you can't just be good at maths, you could be good at something completely different, or you could be great at maths and your partner isn't great. So it's just about using your own advantage, your abilities to your advantage.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that for sure. I think it's everyone playing to their strengths and being able to add to the team based on the experiences that they have that could be completely different to their peers. And on that note then, Ellen, I suppose, what would you say to the future generation of innovators? Probably sounds very fancy, but like the future generation of teenagers, children that are coming up through the ranks who might be nervous about exploring a STEM career, might not be sure about it, but kind of have an inkling that they want to do it, but they're really not sure. What would you say to them, if you could say anything?
I'd say try anything. You have to try everything once, and ask questions. There's never a stupid question, and there's always someone to answer it. Just explore. If you do have a question, go try and find the answer. Go ask someone. And if you don't like the answer, then that's fine. But you have to explore that side of things. And if you do have an interest, I would 100% jump in and just go for it.
Brilliant. I love it. All in kind of attitude. Give it a go. You only live once. Anna, then I suppose, what would you say to that? What piece of advice, or what would you say to the future generation of innovators who might be a bit nervous about exploring a STEM career?
Yeah, my response would be very similar to Ellen's. You only live once. go out and achieve what it is you want to achieve. And if it happens to be STEM related, then great. There are loads of people out there with similar scientific ambitions and interests. So use your time, participate in Sci-Fest and connect with those people, of course, and have fun at the same time.
Thanks, Anna, for that. Conor, then, I suppose, what would you say to the future generation of innovators that might be a bit nervous about exploring a STEM career? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, well, I suppose even myself, I suppose I was quite nervous getting into STEM. When there isn't a lot of people around you, maybe you're from, a rural part of the country and there isn't a lot of people around you who have the same interests. It can be quite tricky to sort of like engage in that interest and sort of pursue that interest because you feel like people might be judging you. But I think, the important thing to remember, I think, is to try and be yourself. There's no point in, pretending, you have an interest in art or, not that obviously art is great and everything, but like if you really are interested in science and engineering and technology, I think you should really go for it. Even if, there might not be anyone around you, I think it really will do you better in the long run. I think just the main thing is to sort of try and be yourself. And definitely I would agree with what everyone else has said,
Brilliant. Yeah, be your authentic self, I guess, is really important. And as you touched on there, it's really difficult to be yourself when you feel you might be different to those around you. You could be in an environment where no one is interested in STEM, and in your heart and soul that it's your thing, but because no one else is doing it, especially at a younger age, you might feel more inclined to be influenced by those around you that aren't interested. But yeah, I love that advice, is to just kind of to pursue it. And I think that's the theme across the answers so far is to dive in, lean into it. It's probably scary at the start, but no, it's great advice to be giving. And then Owen, I suppose, just to finish with yourself, same question. What would you say to future innovators, generation of innovators who might be a bit nervous about kind of exploring a STEM career?
Yeah, I definitely echo what everyone else is saying. Definitely give it a go. Jump straight right into, come up with an idea, find a topic you're even a small bit interested in, and just try and go for it. Even if you don't enjoy that after the first time you tried it, I'd recommend go try it again. Find a new topic, find a new niche that you kind of enjoy. Like from my own experience, I went and I started doing biology projects, then realized, oh, maybe if I try technology, it might be something different. And I kind of changed pathways. So definitely give it a go. If you don't like it the first time, give it a go again if you really have a passion for it. And then it'll all work out eventually.
Brilliant. That's actually a very good piece of advice, because STEM is so broad, like it's vast. The amount of topics, jobs, industries that you could get into is quite a lot. And I think sometimes people might not realize that as well. So the exploration of your interest in STEM is really important, especially at a young age. Get involved in Sci-Fest, do the projects, figure out what projects you want to do. So that's a really good piece of advice. That's all the questions I have for everyone today. And look, I just want to say a huge thank you to you all for coming on today, giving us, insights into your own projects, your experiences, how you've gotten to where you are today. And then the advice, I suppose, for those future generation of innovators that are coming up the ranks, I suppose, behind us. And we really do appreciate it, because it's great to look back on Sci-Fest and your experiences with Sci-Fest and understand the impact that it's had on the likes of ye, and hopefully that it's kind of a nationwide impact that it's had. I suppose we're talking to 4 Sci-Fest alumni today, and I'm pretty sure after 15 years, this is a fraction of the amount of students that have come through Sci-Fest who might not have won awards, but have taken part in the competition itself and taken something away from it. So look, thanks a million, guys. Really appreciate your input today, and best of luck with your future career.